Hello, goddesses, and welcome back to another episode of the Born for the Stars podcast. Today, we have a really special guest joining us, Emily Harrison, who is the founder of the Akashic Academy. And this is so special because I got my certification through the Akashic Academy years ago. Emily has just been the most incredible mentor to me, continues to be through some of my biggest life changes, transitions, growth. I'm just so grateful to her, a dear friend and soul sister. And Emily has also been named one of the five most innovative businesswomen by Entrepreneur Magazine and has been featured on Gaia TV, Coast to Coast Radio, MSN.com, Netflix, Thrive. She has been a speaker at Harvard and now she is on the Born for the Stars podcast. Welcome, Emily.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. Yeah, all of those travels through the universe to meet you and your audience here in this moment and bring through some wisdom. You're so special to me too. It is such an honor. And I'm sure you're starting to experience this too because you've mentored so many light workers at this point on the planet. And when we get to show up in the success of our students and our friends, and you've mentored me as well through our journey together. So to just be able to share this with you is super special to me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great to have you here, Emily. I really appreciate our connection so much. And yeah, truly a soul sister for sure. Another thing I've always found so fascinating about you and your journey is that you started in Hollywood. And I'm actually curious how you went because I'm like, I don't know if we ever like fully dove into this, how you went from Hollywood to the Akashic Records. Like, and were you spiritual in your Hollywood dates? Do you feel like you were tapping into the guidance of the records? What that looked like? Because on the surface they seem like very, very different paths, but maybe they're not. So I'm gonna hand it over to you if you want to share more about that journey.
Yeah, thanks for it's a really fun part of my past. And I've always been fascinated by your past too, of just like, how educated you are and how many degrees that you've earned. And you broke away from that and brought through this powerful knowledge with the astrology and the Akashic records as well. And I was thinking about both of our journeys
Mm.
before I got on this podcast, and I'm thinking, Carrie and we both have something in common in terms of we're souls who we've just always been able to tap into possibility. It's possible if you want it. And I get that a lot of, humans, especially high performers, and the more that we get, curated into our identity, it can be hard to break away and to create a new identity. Although you and I have done it repeatedly in this lifetime. And I realize some of us just hold that authentic flame, that connection to possibility. And for those of you out there who might feel like that's challenging for you, it's one of the great things that you can get through transmission of just like being in the frequency of other humans who are risk takers and like follow the adventure in life. So to answer your question, Carrie, yeah, I was spiritual in Hollywood, sort of, like I was growing up, sort of, meaning I was indoctrinated into it. My mom was a Sunday school teacher, so I'm all up
Mm.
in everything church, and also very much a Gemini, very much a rebel, and really rebelled on life, like the traditional life. Once I was 19, I was going to school in Columbia, Missouri, at college, Mizzou. I hated it. Like every day felt like I was just more and more inside the box. So my soul was like, screw this, I'm out of here. I'm going to Hollywood, right? So I went to Hollywood, and what I began to recognize, like I had some beginner's luck.
Mm.
I got a manager and agent right away and started auditioning. But what I discovered was I wasn't very good. Not that's probably rounding up, Kara. I sucked many of the times when I would go into these audition rooms. Now, in my head, I didn't suck. In my head, like I saw the possibility, right? And I saw myself always as really good, that I delivered my lines really well. And then I would get in the audition room and I wasn't able to meet my potential in that space. So I would just get nervous, right? And I started learning the craft of acting, but I also started meditating. And I started doing things that helped me cultivate my subtle energy body, Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga. And I started getting more and more acting jobs. And the more acting jobs I would get, the more I would meditate. So I get more and more acting jobs. And anybody who's ever taken on a devotion, regardless of what brings you there, right? Like I was doing it very selfishly to further my ego, the identity that I was creating for myself, right? To further my career. Although it was working, so I was more and more devoted to the practice. And the more devoted I became to meditation, the more I wanted to learn and the more my consciousness began to perceive life differently. And the more acting jobs I was getting, also the more acting jobs I was missing, truly. I mean, this is a numbers game, right? So I started missing, like I was getting better roles, but I was also missing bigger roles, like the X-Men and Pearl Harbor. And my soul did not know how to process that disappointment. I felt like I had to show up and pretend like I was fine, like I'm holding it all together. And I got my young family, my kids, and my bouncing Hollywood. No, I was falling apart, right? And the only time when I really felt like I was stable or grounded is if I was meditating or this one day I'm out gardening, right? And my hands are in the dirt and I'm feeling better. And my neighbor comes limping by. And I realize I haven't seen this dude for probably 6 months. I'm putting the pieces together. I'm like, oh, he must have had an accident. I said, Daniel, what happened to you? And he said, well, I fell and shattered my ankle and it's not healing very well. And before I knew it, what comes out of my mouth is, do you want to come over for some energy healing? And as soon as I said that, I'm like, oh my God, what did I just say? I'm not an energy healer. I'm an actress. I hope he says no. And he's like, sure, let me go put my dog away. And I'm like, crap, what am I going to do? So I get the brilliant idea. I'm going to act like an energy healer, right? So that's what I did. I figured I'm just going to wing it. I sit him down in my garden furniture and I prop his leg up on a chair. And I put these big Sony headphones on. I'm playing some solfeggio scale music on YouTube. And I had this tuning fork. I just start waving it around his foot. And I'm thinking, if my husband comes home right now, I'm going to have some explaining to do. And then all of a sudden, my friend's father who had passed, he came into my awareness. It was like his dead dad, the ghost of his dead dad is just here all of a sudden, and I can feel and know that he's here. And I've seen enough episodes of Long Island Medium, so I know I'm supposed to talk to him. So I start this conversation. I ask him, "What's your name?" And he tells me back in my mind, Bob, Bob, Bob. Like I see it like a neon sign flashing, but not Bob's crossed out, but a J name short like Bob. And Bob, not Bob. And then Bob, not Bob, steps forward very valiantly, like strikes this superhero pose. I saved my son. Like, well, you did a terrible job, Bob, not Bob, because his ankle is shattered and it's not healing, but okay, you saved him. And then I see this image of two hands coming together. And the next thing I know, the meditation's over. It feels like just a few minutes have gone by. Like me telling you these encounters, they happen really fast. Although 30 minutes had gone by. So I'm like coming back into my body, going like, what happened? And he's taking the headphones off. And I said, well, do you feel better? And he said, yeah, I think I do. I said, great, bye. And I shoot him off home. And I went inside and I'm washing my hands, and Bob, not Bob, is there. And he's saying to me, please, please reach out to my son. Let him know I was here. How can you deny dead dad saying, I'm like, fine. Like I'm an actress. He's pulling on my heartstrings, right? So I call my friend up. I'm like, all right, dude. You know that I'm an actress. I'm not a medium. Although I do feel like your dad came through in that session. And if you're open to hearing the messages, I'll share them with you. And he said, sure. So he comes back over and I make us some coffee. We sit down and I say, all right, what was your dad's name? And he said, my dad's name was Alan. And I'm like, Alan, well, I got that wrong because I was getting Bob, 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 not Bob, but this J name, short like Bob. And he stopped me and he goes, Emily, my dad's name was Alan J. Jay. He went by his middle name. And I got the chills when he said that. And so then I shared with him, well, he stepped forward like a superhero and insisted that he saved you. Now, I told him he did a terrible job because obviously you're anxious, but he insisted, like he literally insisted. And Daniel said, well, this is what had happened. I'd been experiencing vertigo for a couple months and stuck inside my house, and I was feeling better. So I wanted to get out. I went shopping for my girlfriend in a jewelry store in Malibu, and the vertigo came back when I was in the jewelry store. And I didn't want to pass out in the jewelry store. So I stepped outside. And where I did pass out, The paramedics found me. They said 2 more inches and you would have fallen down 2 flights of concrete stairs. Oh, it made me emotional. So we were like, wow, your dad did save you. And then I shared with him the image of the hands coming together, and he started to cry, like really cry at that point. And he said, Emily, my dad and I were estranged for 30 years, although we reconciled before he died. And I was holding his hand when he died. And at that point, I'm sobbing to Kara. And I mean, there's so many those validations for me
Mm,
meant everything. Like in that moment, my timeline shifted. I knew that I had turned on something that we all have. And I also knew there was no story in Hollywood that I could tell that was as exciting or as inspiring as a story of human potential. And I was
mm.
like, dude, I got to get a certification in something so I can hang a sign on my door and help people with this. And I went inside and pulled out this magazine, a Conscious Life magazine I'd picked up on one of my auditions on. Reiki, no, yo, Akashic Records, that's it. Because I was interested in everything. And I knew that the Akashic Records held all information, past, present, all possible futures. I knew that any information that I ever wanted to access, I would be able to access from that realm. Furthermore, connecting with our loved ones and the mediumship, being able to channel our guides. There's so much that I began to recognize was available through the space of the Akashic Records. So I dove into that training. I signed up, and it was like my soul was remembering not only a skill that I believe that we're all wired with, but my purpose here on the planet is to remind humanity that this technology exists. And when we tap in, when we learn how to read it, like for me, everything in my life started making sense, right? The areas of incongruence, of depression, of lack of self-worth, the challenges, of rejection that my soul chose in this lifetime, around learning to source and resource through my own genius, and that being an opportunity of soul growth, to speak my truth, to embody it, to be fully self-expressed. Like I'm like, oh shit, I make sense. Oh. And not only was I able to turn on self-healing, which like
Mm,
all of these different traumas and challenges that we've had in our life, those are teachers. They're here to teach us. And with the Akashic Records, it begins to reveal the wisdom of the lesson, which that's what activates the healing, what activates the next layer of our power, right? So I'm like, this has to become the new operating system for humanity. And so rather than focusing on reading records for others, I'm like, I want to find the visionaries, the thought
mm,
leaders, the difference makers of the planet, and remind them that they can tap in and not only access this technology like Nikola Tesla, Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein did, but they also, the the gateway into that is the quest for self-knowledge, right? And the relationship to self. And I created a training program that takes us into that process of knowing ourselves this deeply. And of course, in the past 10 years that I've been doing this, I've gotten to share this with you, along with, hundreds, maybe thousands at this point of other visionaries across the world. And it's just been so like to create your own job, Kara, it's to truly create your own job and to be able to express and animate in our sole purpose. I've just felt so much like more fulfillment than being a Hollywood actress. Okay, like that's it's really been quite a ride.
Oh, I get goosebumps hearing this, Emily, because it really feels like in many ways it was destined for you to find the records. And
Oh, I just got chills.
yeah, and not that the time in Hollywood didn't serve a purpose, but even as you shared that, I was getting these downloads like, wow, it's almost like our time in Hollywood was finishing off some past life stuff and lessons that were meant to propel her into what she's doing today. And yet, going back to what you originally said, it takes courage to reinvent yourself. And maybe in hindsight, you saw more how the Hollywood days kind of supported you in your soul's mission now. I know
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen the same in hindsight with psychology because I went through a period where I'm like, I poured so much money and time and effort into getting my master's, and here I am. I'm talking about astrology in the records because I can't deny my heart. It's like this
Yeah.
is also felt like I was destined to be doing what I'm doing today. And then more and more lately, I've been called to integrate the principles that I learned, especially around neuroscience and rewiring the brain and coupling that with astrology and the records. But it was only when I started to see that perhaps that was also meant to be a part of my past. So I'm curious if you have felt that too, Emily. And almost like, do you think the records call people in that are meant to access this wisdom? And it's like we just feel it so strongly. I know I felt that with you, right? I was guided to
Yes.
you. And it's similar to your experience, so much opened up for me when I found the records. When we started doing readings together, like I was getting all these downloads for my business, how my brand needed to change. My income more than doubled after working in the records. It's like everything started to click. It's incredible. It's like we open up to our true purpose beyond just what like our mind and conditioning and
Yes.
society told us it should look like.
Yes, 100%, Kara. And like for me, I can see how Hollywood perfectly prepared me
Yeah.
for the work that I'm doing now. And when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely see I was cleaning up some of the past life karma there. And I've often thought, man, Hollywood was the perfect boot camp for me. One, because like it just I'm used to living in the world of imagination, right?
Mhm.
And possibility. In order to be a good actor, we have to live truthfully in imaginary circumstances. And so when it comes to manifesting and like holding a vision before it's actually here and knowing how to emote, how to feel it as if, dude, I did this for 20 years, like as my job. I'm like, oh, that's why humans are so powerful, right? Because and why we can manifest when we get into alignment, the vision, the feeling,
Mhm.
the clarity, we can hold it. I'm like, oh, I practice that like every day of my life to be at a masterful level, right? So I'm like, that makes sense. Also, improv and stretching the imagination, so many people, especially high performers, their imagination gets shut down. It's like they learn how
Mhm.
to do what they need to do, and they just continue to do that at a better and better level. And like you said, getting outside of the box, there's risk there, right? And imagination for a lot of people is considered child's play or made up. I lived in the world of imagination.
Mhm.
And furthermore, improv acting, yes, and like in improv, you're making it up as you go along. There's no script, right? Improv is what you see let's see, I was going to say Saturday Night Live. There's some improv on Saturday Night Live. Those are sketches. There were improv comedy, there were sketches and bits. Oh, like whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
Right? So, in order to be good at this, you have to play yes and,
Mhm.
right? So, Kara, if I pretend hand you something, you can't act like you didn't see it. You got to take it and thank you for the apple, Emily. And you
Mhm.
like, right? And you continue it. So, this made sense for me when it came to like turning on our psychic abilities and getting messages.
Yeah.
Yes, and like I had a very good ability to pay attention to my imagination, to catch those the messages that come through, whether they're images in our mind, like for example, when I asked about the name of this guy and I get Bob in
Mhm.
my mind like a neon sign, like I see the letters B-O-B. Okay, that's my clairvoyance, my clear inner vision coming alive. And it's been activated because I'm used to seeing things in my mind and playing with my imagination at that level, right? So it made me really good at understanding how the messages were coming in and being able to explain it to people who don't feel like they're psychic, right? Or don't feel, no, here's how it comes in, and you got to learn to get really acute and pay attention to your imagination. I mean, and as you know, in my classroom, when we're getting messages from your Akashic records, you're not allowed to say I'm not getting anything. Okay.
Mhm.
I tell people the average human brain is thinking 12 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Most people can't shut their brain off enough to meditate for 5 minutes. All of a sudden, now you're Yoda You're not getting anything? No. No, 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 no. I don't buy it. Just got to slow down and learn how to perceive it, right?
Mhm.
So I definitely, oh, and furthermore, I mean, the rejection, I had to get over rejection and what people think about me. I had to get really comfortable storytelling and being in front of the camera. And it doesn't mean that my belly doesn't drop every now and then when I hit go live, you know? Although, like, I reckon I'm like, oh, wow, I practiced that repetitively for 20 years. So I can see how that definitely helped me make the transition into creating my own job with some epic storytelling, right? Of just like how I want to show up. And my mission is to return this technology to humanity, and I'm going to make a real job out of it. And that's what I've done. Like, right? That's what you've gotten to experience.
That's what you've done. And it's incredible. I love what you shared too around, playing in that world of like being able to see something before it's a tangible reality and hold that vision so strongly that we're able to
Mhm.
create it. I feel like that is a muscle we have to work, but it's also so necessary for entrepreneurs. I mean, visionaries, that's what we have to do, right? We have to see it before it exists. And, the other thing you shared there that I think is so powerful is that ability to like hold the discomfort and the disappointment. Because I think when we shy away from those emotions, we start to cap our success. Because when we're doing big things, we're going to experience disappointment, we're going to experience failure, and we have to continue showing up and trusting that there's something even better for us. And I find the Akashic Records really help me see the lesson in it. Like when my mind wants to say, this is happening to me or this feels like a challenging time, the records really help me see like this is a gift, this is a blessing. Who do you choose to be in this process? What timeline are you going to call in? Are you going to call in the timeline of being the victim struggle or learning the lesson and allowing it to expand you even further? So what are your thoughts around that idea of being able to like hold kind of the disappointment and discomfort and how that plays into success and actually achieving our goals?
Oh, good question, man. Disappointment is one of my life themes, my soul themes in this. And I noticed as a mom, like if my kids get disappointed, I have this very dramatic reaction. Like my mama bear comes out, I and I'm like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's triggering this deep wound that I'm working with. And people might just like disappoint me. I just like get over it, right? And I got really good at cultivating next play, next play, next play, which I think is a powerful skill. And I also swallowed a lot of disappointment, right? Because I didn't want to look like I was hurting on the outside. And what I've been able to notice more recently, because I've been processing, I talk about, my husband coming home when I'm waving the wand. We're not together anymore. And it's we for being a light worker and for being like this evolved being, Carrie, because you're my friend, some behind the scenes, it was ugly. And we're still one of the biggest challenges that we had was we didn't have a paradigm for conscious, like I think it was Gwyneth and Chris Martin when they split up, conscious uncoupling. We didn't
Right.
have that. And we totally fought it out. And um yeah, it hurt a lot. It created a lot of devastation for me. So I still look back and process that. And also, if you know my story behind the scenes, on paper, he could definitely look like the bad guy. And we all get to show up and take our own responsibility. And this is what I found most recently about my responsibility there is that all that disappointment, I swallowed it, I swallowed it, I swallowed it. And so what happens when we stuff it? We begin to vibrate it, we begin to radiate it, we don't even realize it. And I was inviting him on this soul level into this soul contract with me so he could show up and disappoint me more and more and more and more until I saw it and saw, okay, where is this coming from? Right. And that's the importance of facing and feeling our emotions. And I didn't have the ability to do that. So that's one thing that I would tell people from my own experience with disappointment. Face it, feel it, talk about it. All humans have it because it will escalate into like a potential energy that will change, call you to an a 10 hut in the way like like you said, I got to get into alignment with where I'm out of alignment
Mhm.
really quickly. And the circumstances got severe in my life. I mean, humans are very resilient. This is great, but who wants to fight it out and have an ugly divorce and with someone that you once loved and you brought children into the planet while you're showing up to be a spiritual teacher and coach? Like, not me. I didn't love moving through that timeline. So that's one thing is I would really encourage
Mm.
process it, process it, process it.
Process it. That
Um,
takes a lot of courage too. Don't you mind? A lot of courage, a lot of vulnerability. And I think it's something we don't have to do alone either. I feel like that's where the support is key. And, you're so right how that can become part of like our electromagnetic field or this
yeah,
energy that we're putting out into
yes,
the world. And
yes.
I have found in my life, like, intuitively, I usually know when something is off early on, but that doesn't mean that I always look at it or change it or address it. And when I don't, it gets louder and louder and louder. And it's like the universe is saying, are you ready to look at it yet? Are you going to look at it now? And, we do have to face it, but it does
Yes.
take deep vulnerability and courage to do that. How do you find the
Mhm.
records has supported you with that or your clients? Because, like you said, it's an experience we all have.
Right. Well, when we're cutting through so much traffic and so much noise, when we're getting, really direct with our soul and saying, what's the lesson here for me?
Mm,
So we don't have to continue maneuvering in our human mind with our human experience. We get
mhm.
that higher perspective,
Yeah.
which definitely helps me collapse timelines faster. Like you said, I love going into the records,
Mm,
and asking for the clarity that I need on what the lesson is so
yeah.
that I can collapse a timeline. Right. And I love that you said too that there are times when you get the intuitive hit and you'll listen.
Yeah.
That happened to me in Hollywood when soap operas started calling for me. And I'm like, nope, I don't want to do a soap opera. And for years, I turned them down until I had my first son, Jack. And at that point, I'm auditioning during the day, waiting tables at night, pumping my breast, like, wait, this was not the glamorous life I was looking for. So when Bold and the Beautiful came the third time and said, would you like a contract role? I said yes, I took it. I knew that I didn't want to be a soap actress ever, although I didn't like my current circumstances and I was willing to trade. And so I tried to convince myself that this was my biggest break ever. I sent all my friends and family back home soap opera digest magazines. I went over like this is a phrase from my granny back in Missouri, y'all. I went over like a turd in a punch bowl, which is not good. Okay. So, one, not only was it inauthentic to me, I couldn't wrap my head around this melodrama. And I did not go over well with the audience. I was replacing one of the most beloved actresses who had won the Emmy for this role. And now all of a sudden it's Emily. They're like, no, we want our old Bridget. Hate mail coming from prisoners,
Mm.
Kara. Rumors in the Akashic Digest or the Akashic Digest, the Soap Opera Digest magazine that I'm going to get fired before I actually do. Like 26-year-old Emily, I did not have the skills or tools to process this. And I'm having lunch with a friend one day when the doorbell rings and it's this huge bouquet of flowers. I open the card, it's from the producers. It says, thank you for your commitment to the role, but we're recasting it. Basically, like, you're fired. My friend's like, what's the card say? I'm like, oh, says they can't wait to get me back on set. Like the best acting I ever did. And my friend walks out and I hear the screen door click. Like I held it together till he left. And I can still remember that screen door clicking. And I collapsed on my floor, sobbed, just like if and I made a soul contract. I created a success ceiling. If this is what success looks like, I don't want it.
Mm.
Okay. So fast forward 10 years later when I did split from my husband. And it was I'd have to go back and check the astrology. You could probably tell me whose butt Pluto flew up. When Pluto starts going retrograde,
Yeah.
like everything fell apart. So Mike and I split. He lost his job, and he had a severance check that he took to the bank and he got robbed coming out of the bank, Kara. So like all the money is gone. I'm not making enough money at that point in time to support my kids. I'm going to go get a job waiting tables when my records say, don't you dare. I'm
Mm,
like, great, tell me what to do instead. They're like, you have a success ceiling
mm,
from that sole contract that you made. You need to go back and clear that. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, how do I do it? And they brought into my awareness Chinese medicine, where the organs, our soft tissue, stores the somatic memory. Okay, I had learned this somewhere else, but it's like flooding back into my field, like I'm reading it from a book.
mm.
As you know, like the records will illuminate things that
Yep.
we've crossed paths with before, right? And I start reading basically like the heart stores unforgiveness, lungs store the sadness, belly stores the worry, stomach stores the worry, kidneys store the anger, liver stores the fear. I had learned EFT tapping from you, actually. Then the guides say tapping. Remember, you did all the tapping with Kara. Just tap right on the organs. I'm like, great. And then they said you need a transmutation tool, a tool of alchemy. And I use the violet flame for everything. So I was like, screw it. I'll use the Ho'oponopono. I just learned the Ho'oponopono. That's another alchemy tool. So I just started tapping on the organs, Kara. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me and thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. 5 rounds, 5 days in my Akashic Records. And it cleared that success ceiling. Now, the timing, how many rounds people need to do, I always tell them to check in with their guides. Although within 8 months of doing this, I had made $172,000, which is more money than I had ever made in my life, more money than I had ever made in Hollywood. And it was because I vibrationally was able to clear this from my somatic memory and reinstall a new identity. Okay. I'm a college dropout. I went to Hollywood after that, trained in acting. My records teach me this in ways that make sense to me so that I can do it on myself. Right. And that's the beauty of the Akashic Records is that it helps us to cut through, bypass any
Oh,
of the
yeah.
noise. It's a self-realizing, self-teaching mechanism, right? So it basically teaches us how to heal our own selves.
Absolutely. And that collapsing of timelines, like how quickly when you were
Yeah.
able to like realign your identity to have that money flow in, to right, just feel better in your body. And I love this discussion around the success ceilings. And again, I know we're on the same page, right? Like intuitively on the same page. Like this has been top of mind for me lately as well. When we bump up against these upper limits that consciously we don't realize we have. We may just feel like
Yep.
I'm not hitting this next income goal, or I don't have the audience I want, or why isn't this program working, or why am I feeling exhausted in my body? And we're not seeing that it's a new baseline that we have to calibrate to. And I feel like that's where the nervous system really comes in as well, because it's exactly what you
Yeah.
saw in the records. Like you were holding in your body these old patterns and these old memories. And then years later, it was
Yep.
manifesting again. But also, I mean, the ability to be able to shift that is
Yeah.
huge. And I know you know this, but we can talk about this more in the like the records. What an incredible tool to really get to the root of what we need to shift in order to experience that new level of success. And I've heard some people online just think like, oh, quantum leaps and collapsing timelines, that's just so silly. I'm like, well, then they don't know the records because I feel like this happens all of the time in the records.
Yeah, it does. And I also find that like even with the records and moving through what I feel like my old challenges and old timelines are,
Mhm.
my themes, my soul themes still cycle back around,
Yeah,
right? And
totally.
and I'm like I'm working with another success ceiling right now in my life. So after that, and it's like you nailed it, Kara. It's because my nervous system hadn't yet calibrated to
Mm,
that major up level. So after that year that I made $172,000, I got so excited about figuring out how to grow my business and geeking out on entrepreneurship that $1 million became my next like goal, right? Like, how am I going to make $1 million? How am I making $1 million? And so as I started to like continue to grow my business, I grew my VIP container to, I had 10 people in a 35K container, and I was teaching them about their businesses. And that was before I even did any other records, training for people or got on stage anywhere. And I'm like, okay, this is like more money than I've ever made in my life. And I'm like, I can provide for my, like, wow. And at that price point, I became a yes person for these clients.
Mm,
Their resistance would come up, and I wanted them to have such a great experience in my 35K container that when they wouldn't do their homework, rather than being like calling them out on their resistance, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll try this instead. Oh, and it didn't take 6 months before that container fell apart,
mm,
right? And so I took a step back. I had to reassess like where I was off in that out of integrity with those clients,
right.
and really like lean in and learn and grow. And it really comes down to like the ability to speak our truth and to recognize that it being easy for someone isn't my job. That's not why they've hired me. They've
Mm,
hired me for my ability to see patterns and to reflect that back to them. And I stopped doing that because it felt uncomfortable, right? And so again, like to hear you get in these spaces and we create these success ceilings.
yep.
So since then, like I've been healing, I've been shifting my business, and I want to get back to that. Like I want to make 20K a month again. And so this was like the goal that I've had in my mind, and it's so inconsistent. And I still have months where I totally fall short. I'm like, what's going on here? What's going
Mm,
on here? Bing. Hey, dude, last time you held the frequency of 20K months, your life fell apart. You looked like an asshole again to your client, and you didn't have the capacity like to fully stand in that truth for them. So it doesn't
mm.
feel safe for you yet. Go back to the drawing board, Em. Go back to the drawing board. I'm like, oh. And then the very next day, Kara, I had an opportunity with one of my VIP clients who's also a dear friend of mine. Most of my clients, we become friends afterwards, right? Yeah, there's no way, by the way, if you come be my student or my client, we ain't gonna be friends afterwards. This happens to be one of my really dear friends before. And so again, it put me in that context of, ooh, I want her to enjoy this. Ooh, she's coming up against stuff there that's really uncomfortable for me to point out. And
Mm,
so I started swallowing it. I started swallowing it. And I got to the point where I'm like, I can't do this to her. I have to stand up in authority and say, hey, I got to hold a higher level of integrity for this.
mm,
And after having that realization about not being that version of myself, and then having an opportunity to embody that version of myself afterwards, the records are just like, there you go. There's your initiation.
yep.
There's the evidence of you embodying the new identity. So I'm doing all the same work that I know how to do. It's just
Right.
I'm ready to do it on myself again, right? And to break those success ceilings. But just to, like you keep it really real and vulnerable with people. This is what it looks like, at least for me in my journey.
Totally, totally. And I love that you're bringing this up because I feel like it takes a lot of courage to do this
Yeah,
work and to continue to lean in and like going back to this discussion around vision, to hold the
yeah,
vision, even when it looks like we're not sure how it's going to happen, or we have, and I have found this over time too, like the longer I'm in the online space and doing this spiritual
yeah.
work, yes, I build up the success and more confidence in so many ways. But I also have more disappointments, more grief, more this didn't work. And, having to like lean in and do that deeper work, I feel it is so necessary for the growth, especially when we're on this
Yeah,
spiritual path. Like what I have felt in the records as well is like, my soul chose this entrepreneurial journey as part of many lessons that I'm
yeah.
learning. And it doesn't make it easy, but in many ways, it also makes it exciting to look at like, what do I need? Like, what skill is required here to reach this new income goal? What needs to be healed here or looked at to like break through the ceiling? Or like, what is
Mhm.
that saying? Like, make the floor the old ceiling is now the floor. Like,
Yes.
I've been
Yes.
playing with that energy lately and just feeling into how to calibrate to that new baseline and like really get our body on board with
Yep.
what we want to create as well. Because we can have these conscious goals like you
Yep.
were saying, and I think, I've had that too of like, oh, this income goal or this many people in the program. And it's like my mind has all these amazing ideas, or I know it's possible. I see it in the records. And
Right.
yet my body can be holding this resistance of, is it safe? What is this going to require from me, from like energy,
Yep.
time? What if somebody is disappointed? What if they're let down? And I think it's also being willing to really look at those fears instead of just coexisting with them, like just allowing them to kind of hang out in our field or pushing them down, and instead really begin to look at those things and move through them. Have you found that as well, Emily? And do you feel like we're kind of collectively, I guess this kind of takes it in a different direction, but related,
Mhm.
like a lot of visionaries and light workers are going through these initiations right now? Have you seen that
Oh,
theme?
100%. And there's one thing, like I'll just tribute back to you. You're so good at this, Kara. I love that this is so much a culture of your lineage. And that is, yeah, you got to slow down and make space, right? And it's about not doing as much. And so what I find is that I get in the over masculine, the do. Oh, yeah, I can do this. I've done it before. I'm going to keep doing it, doing it, doing it. And those fears or those uncomfortabilities, I don't want to even give them space. So I keep moving really fast, right? So I don't slow down and be with them. And then I get into overdoing, right? And we know that that doesn't work. It's really the slowing down, right? And being present even with the uncomfortability
Yeah.
and learning to do less but to hold the frequency. Or
Mm,
sometimes we have to start with saying, oh, I'm really not holding the frequency. I'm actually really uncomfortable right now and what this might be. And then again, I'm quoting Kara Melinda here, both can be true at the same time. You can not only be afraid, but also be ready to move forward. It makes me emotional. You're so good at what you do, Kara. Like that both can be true at the same time,
mhm.
right? And I also think it's why it's so important that we are in each other's frequency to help and to support each other because it's also counterintuitive at this point. We have been overly trained that if we just continue to do more, it's going to work, and it's not. And
No.
it takes a lot of bravery to say, okay, I'm going to actually create space for this. And then to have the tools, like right as we up level, it's yeah, we get more and more opportunities. You better believe more and more disappointment is going to come with that. That's how it goes. We also get more tools though, and we get
Mhm.
better at using them. So that's really about what mastery and growth and playing bigger is about, not having less challenge, just being better at meeting it.
I love that. And this may seem random, but it brought me back to like a memory when we were in Miami. Remember when we connected in Miami under a Taurus eclipse and we went to a ceremony and we got rained out? But it was still amazing. And we were all in the car or vehicle because I know there's a couple others there as well. But I remember you sharing, and you were always so good at just like directing the conversation in beautiful ways and like holding a new frequency. And I think that's such a gift. But one of the things you had shared was you're getting really good at like shifting from that uncomfortable feeling more quickly. You're like, you know what? We rained out, all this happened. You're like, I'm already in a different energy. And like you brought everybody into this space of like, isn't it fun to witness how quickly we can start to shift? And I think there's something to that as well. Like noticing in ourselves, like, oh, I'm feeling this disappointment or this anxiety and having the tools to know we don't have to stay there. So it's not like we're ignoring it or pushing it down. But I think over time, we can get better at shifting those things more quickly. And that also collapses the timeline and can accelerate our results. Not that it's always just about accelerating results, but I mean when we're ambitious, we have big goals. Acceleration
Yeah,
can feel fun, right? But yeah, that's just
I
such
like
a
it.
fun memory to go back to.
It is. And what they don't know out there, Kara, is that we didn't predetermine or decide that we were going to meet in Miami. It
No.
was it was very intuitive. It was all of a sudden like, oh, you're in Miami, I'm in Miami. Oh, it's a Taurus moon. We both have Taurus moon,
We
right? In
do.
our
Yep.
chart. And the eclipse, and we were like, oh my goodness, this is very. I feel like we're changing timelines for all
Timeline.
of humanity by meeting under this full moon, Kara.
It felt very destined. And you know what else is fun is we're working up to a new moon in Taurus soon as we're having this conversation. So, of course.
That's lovely. Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, and this Taurus new moon as well, it really relates to what you were sharing around like that nervous system regulation and how we don't always have to be in a rush or that it's not always just about the doing more. And yeah, it's such a huge lesson for me as well because I always thought if it just came down to how hard can I how hard do we need to work to achieve this? I'm like, I will do it. I will show up. I'm a Taurus moon. I'm also an Aries rising though. So I definitely have that like I'll show up, I'll do what needs to be done, but absolutely seeing that action will cap us. It's necessary.
Yep.
If we're too far in the other direction, sometimes we got to move, right? We got to take the action. But it'll cap. It's not just about the effort or the action. It's the energy behind it. It's the intention behind it. It's the direction of our focus. There's just so many other things there. So this just feels so fitting. This Taurus season, new moon coming up. Very
Oh, I love
destined.
it. And what pinged in my field, I don't know if you
Mhm.
noticed, I got a little
I
excited. I was like,
did. I
yeah, I was like, what?
did. Yeah.
When you talked about the rushing, okay, because this was a huge, very cool lesson that the Akashic Records just revealed to me this last year on Mount Shasta. So I've been taking my advanced seekers into the planetary vortex, the root chakra of the planet, Mount Shasta, which is also an intergalactic gateway. We've got all kinds of not only interdimensional activity, but it's a meeting place of the ascended masters. So we go there to call forward our timeline of highest potential and align to this timeline of highest potential every year. Um, Oh my God, why am I even talking about Mount Shasta? Kara, they totally blipped out. I can't even remember. What was the last thing you remember saying? Oh, yes. And I also know, guys, when that happens, it means something like this is really important because my brain just goes. So this year at Mount Shasta, we're filming a docu-series about this incredible work that comes through and how people shift and change. And we meet a Mayan elder there, and the Mayan elder gives us coordinates for a secret hearth on Mount Shasta where we get to go do this ceremony. And so my team goes to find this special location, and they say it's about 10 minutes up the mountain to get there. 10 minutes for two men who were very fit running up the mountain. It took me that like to get my whole and it was a mess, Kara. And we all got separated. And me as the leader, I was up there feeling like I had to, and I got super scolded by the Mayan timekeeper in a very gentle way. Actually, he was very gentle and playful. My records were who gave me the super scolding. And what he shared was that the tribe travels together. We travel at the speed of the elders and the babies, right? Our society now, and I was I was just playing the part out perfectly so everybody can see it. We have agendas and expectations of what we need it to be. And I've got a film crew, so I got to get the film crew up there, and then I got to be there for the film crew for all the. No, it became all about these other pieces and this rush and this anxiety. And what the record showed me was that the new earth, the 5D, peace, joy, abundance as a baseline frequency. It is all around us right now. 99.999% of the universe is already 5D. We're in a special zone where we are still allowed to see the Maya or the illusion if we choose. We can also see through it if we choose. Okay. But the number one thing that gets you kicked out of heaven on earth, of the new earth, is rushing and playing with false timelines, engaging with false timelines. And so, how we collapse those is by eliminating the rush, eliminating the anxiety, and learning to truly hold the presence of the now moment. You will obtain so much more of your power. You will have access to it. If we can just learn to unattach ourselves from the Maya, the illusion, and stay present in the moment and all travel together.
Ooh, that just lands so deeply, Emily. And I know it will with everyone listening to like, whoa, whole consciousness shift around seeing this idea of how we're ascending together and like what are we rushing to? Like where are we rushing to? And
Yeah.
this always stood out because I remember taking this certification with you years ago now, but just the power of the now and the present moment and how that was such a potent part of your teachings is like all of our power is in this now moment and what we're able to create when we're grounded in that space instead of lost in the past or in the elusive future and we allow ourselves to be here. So, as we prepare to wrap up soon, Emily, I want to honor your time. I know we can talk forever. Kind of keeping just with this theme and where we're going as humanity, what do you see in the records for the remainder of this year for like light workers, visionary? That's probably a really big question, but like maybe where our focus gets to be to support this highest timeline for freedom, for peace, for abundance, for all of us. Like what role are we playing? Anything you feel called to share there?
Yeah, well, first of all, to remember, I mean, we're in times of massive evolution and change.
Hmm.
Okay. And the way that we are going to have the most positive impact is by being in relationship with the change. Like you can't
Right.
affect the change by being over here and just being like, yep, it's changing, y'all. Let the change come through you, right? We
Mm.
know from the seven hermetic principles, the macro, the micro, as above, so below, as within, so without. We can actually change everything that's happening in the world by taking a look at what we want to change within ourselves
Hmm.
and getting really honest. Like let the work happen within you and don't shy away from it. We all need to be showing up and saying like, what is my truth right now? How can I be in more integrity with my own truth, my own vibration? How can the truth of who I am vibrate so strongly it overrides any non-conscious belief that comes against it? Okay.
Mm.
That's
Love
how we
that.
need to, right? That's how we need to
Yes.
animate in this now moment,
Mm.
because that's what will facilitate the change with the most ease.
Beautiful.
We're not here just to preach and point out and give guidance. We're here to do it and let it illuminate through us as well.
Yeah.
For me, it looks like being in radical integrity with my own artistry right now. So
Mm.
I've learned to, through business and getting good at business, to figure out who my ideal avatar is and who stands to gain the most from my genius and,
Mm.
the visionaries, the thought. And right now, it's like, what does artistic soul Emily need to say? And I don't care if it's off brand or if
Mm.
it doesn't land well here. How do I get to show up and just be more of myself? So I feel like while I learned like the rules of showing up and playing within the like how do we show up and present ourselves?
Yeah.
I'm swinging back the other way now, and I'm like, where can I get more raw and more expressive, like with myself? So
Mm.
that's what it looks like for me is
Oh.
challenging my artists to make content and education and speak on what feels really passionate to me.
I love that. And this feels so aligned with the upcoming astrology shift this summer,
Oh,
Jupiter in Leo. I feel like that's really unleashing our creativity. So, what you share resonates with me as well. I feel like that is really healing too for our own inner child, but also just what the planet is needing now and like that creative self expression. And absolutely resonates with what you said around like the micro and the macro. I think we really need to look at the role we play in creating what comes next instead of just reacting to what may be going on, really looking at we play a big role here. Each of us
yeah.
matters. And as we raise our consciousness, of course, we of course the consciousness of the planet has to shift. Like to me, that just feels like it doesn't need to be a woo-woo thing. It's actually just like a really logical thing. As we raise our consciousness, we show up differently, we make new decisions, we create a new
Yes.
planet. So thank you for
Kara,
holding
wait,
that,
can I ask
Emily.
you, can I
See?
ask you a quick question
Of
first? Because my
course you
mind's like
can.
blown right now. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you say that is Jupiter going to be in Leo? Like, is that happening in August when we're in Shasta this year?
Oh, it's going to be there by August. Absolutely. I would have to double check exact date, but by August it is there.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness. Because what I
Yeah.
find, like when we go into Lionsgate, or when we go into Mount Shasta over Lionsgate, root chakra of the planet, we are aligning to our highest potential from our root, right?
Mm,
And every year, the astrological signatures also affect
yep.
the experience and the activation that people have. Jupiter being the planet of abundance and
Mhm.
opportunity, for that to get activated for people at Mount Shasta this year, I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay.
Huge,
I just had to double
huge.
check that. I'm going,
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this shift. I mean, we're gonna be wrapping up in Cancer till like I have to it's so many planets moving this year. It's hard to nail the dates. By August, it is absolutely gonna be there. And yeah, it's going to be a powerful Lionsgate, right? That even like
yes.
the fire energy, but we've got so much fire and air. The nodes will have changed signs by then as well. Like the South Node in Leo, you're going to have a lot of fiery energy you're working with there. That's going to be
Mm.
powerful for sure. So, where can people continue to connect with you, Emily? And we'll make sure we have everything linked. And where do you love hanging out these days? Where are you?
Yeah,
Where
well,
are
I
you hanging out?
mean, yeah, what I just realized, I mean, all the entrepreneur in me, like telling people, come here, dude, this is an audience that likes to hang out and be part of a group space. Come hang out on my weekly show, Akashic Answers with Emily. And it's
Beautiful.
it's a great place to be in community with others, to ask questions. If you have questions that you want to ask the records, I channel live every Wednesday. So I really want to encourage you to like be in the field of the records and get the expansion there. And then of course, come visit me at the akashicacademy.com. We've got an awesome free resource page there that will get you some great downloads and some training to support you. And of course, you can contact me on the website too if you have any questions about what we talked about today or training yourself.
Amazing, amazing. We're going to link all of that, Emily. And thank you for being here and just sharing your story, your journey, your wisdom. I am so, so grateful for you. All
My
right.
pleasure, Kara. I love you so much. Thanks for
So
having
much
me.
love. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. Be sure to reach out to both Emily and I on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Let us know how you enjoyed today. And I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.